Linda Ronstadt lost the most celebrated voice in American music to a disease doctors couldn't diagnose for 8 years. She kept performing anyway, convinced she was losing her mind. But why did a woman at the peak of stardom keep making decisions that looked like career suicide? Today, I'm uncovering 12 such little-known facts about Linda Ronstadt, from the $12 million she walked away from to firing the musicians who became the Eagles, to the dying father's request she almost refused. Story 1. The voice that vanished. In the spring of 2000, Linda Ronstadt's hands started trembling when she poured her morning coffee. 8 years later, she discovered what was stealing her voice and why no doctor could save her. For 30 years, Linda had commanded stages with one of the most versatile voices in American music. She'd sold over 100 million records, shifting effortlessly from rock to opera to mariachi. At 53, she was still touring sold-out venues. She dismissed the trembling as too much caffeine. Weeks later, during a Phoenix concert, she couldn't hit a note she'd sung 1,000 times. Her voice cracked in front of 5,000 people. She flew between Los Angeles, New York, and Boston, seeing specialist after specialist. Every test came back normal. It's stress, they said. The symptoms accelerated. Her hands shook when she gripped the microphone. Her voice lost its power, its flexibility, its range. She started choosing easier songs, avoiding high notes, cutting concerts short. She told no one the real reason. What almost nobody knew: Linda kept touring for 8 years while losing control of her own body. Convinced she was going insane, she stopped performing in 2009. Even in retirement, she had no diagnosis. For 4 more years, she lived in limbo. Was it stress? Premature aging? Some psychological breakdown? She'd lost her career without understanding why. In December 2013, doctors in San Francisco finally identified it: Parkinson's disease. It had been destroying her vocal cords since at least 2000. The diagnosis was devastating and a strange relief. She wasn't crazy. A degenerative neurological disease had stolen the most celebrated voice of her generation. The mystery was solved, but the voice was gone forever. Story 2. The million-dollar gamble that backfired. In July 1983, Linda Ronstadt was offered $12 million to keep doing exactly what had made her rich and famous. She said no. And what happened next shocked the music industry. Linda was the highest paid woman in rock, selling out 20,000-seat arenas coast to coast. Her albums went platinum like clockwork. Concert promoters paid her more than any female performer in history. She was suffocating. She'd spent a decade singing the same rock hits night after night. She called her manager with an announcement that left him speechless. She was abandoning rock to play a 19th century orphan in a Broadway production of Gilbert and Sullivan's Pirates of Penzance. No rock band, no amplifiers, just her voice and an operetta from 1879. Her manager thought she'd lost her mind. Rock critics called it a vanity project destined to humiliate her. Opening night at New York's Minskoff Theater, January 8, 1981, she hit a sustained high E-flat that stopped the show cold. The audience erupted. Critics who came to mock stayed to cheer. She ran for nearly a year on Broadway, then took it to Los Angeles. Here's the sick irony. Just when she'd conquered Broadway, she walked away to make an even crazier bet. In 1983, Linda announced she was recording an album of 1940s big band standards with 77-year-old arranger Nelson Riddle. Slow, jazzy crooner music that hadn't been popular in 40 years. Her manager quit. Radio programmers laughed. Music critics predicted career suicide. What's New hit stores in September 1983 and sold 3 million copies, it stayed on the charts for 81 weeks and spawned 2 platinum sequels. She gambled her rock career twice, Broadway, then big band nostalgia, and won both times. The girl who walked away from $12 million made far more by refusing to play it safe. Story 3. Choosing love over stardom. On April 7, 1979, California Governor Jerry Brown walked into Linda Ronstadt's concert at the Los Angeles Forum. What happened next would cost her millions, and she'd never get him back. Linda was at her absolute peak, her face on every magazine cover, her songs dominating top 40, her tours selling out in minutes. Jerry was a presidential prospect, a brilliant politician who slept on a mattress on the floor and refused the governor's mansion. By midnight, they were falling in love. The relationship went public immediately. Paparazzi stalked them. Tabloids ran brutal headlines. Governor Moonbeam and the Rock Queen. Her label panicked as Linda slashed her 1980 touring schedule in half to be with Jerry in Sacramento. She was earning millions less, vanishing during her prime earning years. In March 1982, Jerry announced he was running for president. Linda joined the campaign trail, performing at rallies, standing beside him at press conferences while reporters treated her like an accessory. The media savaged her. Was a rock star qualified to be First Lady? Was her celebrity destroying his chances? Picture this, June 1982, New Jersey primary night. Linda stands backstage in a hotel ballroom, camera flashes exploding, watching Jerry lose badly to Walter Mondale. Reporters shout questions about whether her fame killed his campaign. Jerry's presidential bid collapsed. The scrutiny poisoned everything between them. By late 1983, the relationship was over. Linda had sacrificed 2 prime earning years, endured public humiliation, and watched the man she loved fail, partly because of her celebrity. She gambled her white-hot career on love and lost both. Decades later, she said she never regretted it. Those years taught her that fame without genuine connection was worthless. She'd lost the love, but kept the lesson. Story 4. The Stone Poneys' one-hit curse. In November 1967, the Stone Poneys' Different Drum hit number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100. Linda Ronstadt, just 21, was suddenly famous. 3 months later, her band was destroyed, and it was entirely her fault. The trio had moved from Tucson to Los Angeles in 1964 with $300 between them. They survived on rice and beans, played coffee houses for tips. Capitol Records signed them. Different Drum exploded on radio. They appeared on The Tonight Show in December 1967. Tours were selling out. Capitol executives flew to LA and issued an order, record another Mike Nesmith cover in the exact same formula, duplicate the hit. Linda refused. She wanted the third album to showcase original compositions. The executives were furious. This 21-year-old nobody was telling them how to run their business. Capitol shelved all promotion for the third album. Radio ignored the follow-up singles because the label sent no promotional support. Concert bookings evaporated. Linda still wouldn't compromise. She kept fighting for artistic control. What Linda didn't realize, Capitol was actively sabotaging her band as punishment. By July 1968, both guitarists quit. The Stone Poneys dissolved. Capitol offered Linda a solo contract with a fraction of the budget and zero creative freedom. Her first solo albums bombed. She spent 1969 broke and depressed in Los Angeles. Linda's stubbornness had killed her band and nearly destroyed her career. That forced desperation pushed her to completely reinvent herself, leading directly to the solo superstardom of the 1970s. The one-hit curse she caused became the best thing that ever happened to her. Story 5. The cocaine confession that saved her. In a January 1980 interview with Rolling Stone, Linda Ronstadt admitted something that could have ended her career overnight. Instead, it saved her life. Throughout the 1970s, Linda ran with rock royalty, the Eagles, Jackson Browne, Warren Zevon. Cocaine was everywhere, backstage at the Troubadour, in recording studios at Laurel Canyon parties. Linda used it recreationally. By 1979, she was watching friends overdose and disappear into addiction. John Belushi died of a cocaine heroin speedball in March 1982. Careers were imploding. In late 1979, Linda quit cold turkey. Then she did something almost no mainstream female entertainer had ever done. In early 1980, she publicly admitted her past drug use. Her publicist begged her not to. Her label was terrified. She just played an innocent orphan on Broadway. Her wholesome image was worth millions. Sponsors could drop her. Radio might blacklist her. Here's the sick irony. While Linda was confessing and cleaning up, half of Hollywood was spiraling deeper into cocaine addiction and lying about it. She kept talking honestly in Rolling Stone, matter-of-factly, without glorifying or moralizing. She explained why she quit. She'd seen where it led. The confession didn't destroy her. It humanized her. Fans respected her transparency. Critics praised her courage. She entered the 1980s clean and more popular than ever, while many peers destroyed themselves with the same drug. Her honesty became rebellion in an industry built on image control. She'd risked everything to tell the truth. Story 6. Tijuana Jail. In March 1974, Mexican border guards found drugs on Linda Ronstadt's tour bus. What happened next almost destroyed everything she'd built. Linda was touring Arizona when her bus driver suggested a day trip to Tijuana. The band agreed. They spent the afternoon shopping, eating street tacos, just a harmless break before that night's sold-out San Diego show. At the border crossing around 5 p.m., guards stopped the bus for a random search. They found drug paraphernalia, rolling papers, a pipe traces of marijuana hidden in the back. Mexican authorities detained the entire bus. Linda sat in a concrete interrogation room while officials demanded to know if the drugs were hers. They weren't. She'd never seen the paraphernalia. She tried explaining, but her Spanish was limited and the guards were skeptical. Why would a famous American rock star be traveling with drug users if she wasn't using herself? Picture this. Linda Ronstadt, whose face was on the cover of Rolling Stone that month, sitting in a Tijuana detention facility facing international drug charges while a sold-out San Diego concert waited 200 miles north. Hours crawled by. Her manager frantically called lawyers. The crew member finally confessed the drugs were his. Mexican authorities were in no hurry. They questioned Linda repeatedly, threatened more searches, hinted at jail time. Around 10 p.m., 5 hours after the initial stop, authorities released her with a warning. She'd missed the San Diego show. For years afterward, Linda rarely spoke about it, still shaken by how a casual day trip had nearly ended her career and landed her in a Mexican prison. Story 7. The Father's Deathbed Lesson. In October 1995, Linda Ronstadt's dying father made a request that seemed impossible. She almost said no, and that decision would have cost her the biggest success of her career. Gilbert Ronstadt lay dying in Tucson. He'd filled their childhood home with Mexican music, mariachi, rancheras, boleros. Linda grew up singing along. She built her career on rock, country, pop, Broadway. Everything except the music her father loved most. From his hospital bed, Gilbert made his final request: record an album of Mexican folk songs. In Spanish. Linda protested. "Papa, my Spanish isn't good enough. Nobody will buy a Spanish album from a rock singer." Gilbert insisted. This music was their heritage. He died before she could promise anything. She flew back to Los Angeles, consumed with guilt. Months later, she approached Asylum Records. The executives were horrified. Spanish language albums didn't sell in America. Her rock fans wouldn't understand it. Radio wouldn't touch it. Linda hired Spanish tutors and spent 6 months relearning the language, studying pronunciation, grammar, inflection, until she could sing like a native speaker. She flew to Mexico City, recruited traditional mariachi musicians. The recording sessions were brutal. She had to sing in a completely different vocal style. What almost nobody knew Asylum printed a tiny first run, expecting it to fail quietly. Canciones de mi Padre was released in November 1987 with almost no promotion. It sold 2.5 million copies in the US alone, becoming the biggest selling non English album in American history at that time. It introduced a generation of Americans to mariachi music. Her father's dying wish, which she'd almost refused, had given her the most surprising success of her life. The album that nobody would buy outsold most of her rock records. Story 8. The Aspen Surprise. In the summer of 1971, Linda Ronstadt hired 4 unknown musicians as her backup band. 6 months later, she fired them all. They became the biggest rock band of the 1970s. Linda was broke. Her first 2 solo albums had flopped. Capitol Records gave her one final chance: record an album in Los Angeles with a proper band, or they'd drop her. She needed musicians fast and cheap. A guitarist named Glenn Frey showed up, talented, unproven. He recommended his friend Don Henley on drums. They recruited Bernie Leadon on guitar and Randy Meisner on bass. Linda hired all 4 for her 1971 tour. The chemistry was explosive. They harmonized perfectly, understood her arrangements instinctively. The album bombed. Radio ignored it. Sales were dismal. Linda was barely earning enough to support herself, let alone pay 4 backing musicians. In late 1971, she had to let them go. Remember these 4: Glenn Frey, Don Henley, Bernie Leadon, and Randy Meisner, because what happened next changed rock history. They stayed in Los Angeles after Linda fired them. They developed such tight harmonies backing her that they formed their own band. In 1972, they became the Eagles. Their debut album went platinum. Take It Easy became a massive hit. By 1976, Hotel California made them the biggest band in America, eventually selling over 100 million albums worldwide. Linda had discovered them, trained them, given them their first professional break, but couldn't hold on to them because of her own commercial failure. The failed album that forced her to fire her backup band had accidentally launched the best-selling American rock band of the 1970s. Her loss became their empire. Story 9. Saying No to Elvis. In February 1977, Elvis Presley's people called Linda Ronstadt with an offer most singers would kill for. She said no. 6 months later, he was dead. Linda had worshipped Elvis since childhood in Tucson. His voice, his charisma, he was her idol, the reason she'd fallen in love with rock and roll. By 1977, she was a superstar herself. But the chance to sing with Elvis was a dream beyond imagination. Then she heard the conditions. Elvis would only record between midnight and 6 a.m. at Graceland. He'd become completely nocturnal. No rehearsal time. Elvis's band would learn the song. Linda would show up cold and sing it. Elvis retained absolute control over production and arrangement. Linda was a perfectionist who rehearsed obsessively and demanded multiple takes. She asked if they could compromise. Maybe record in the afternoon, maybe rehearse once. Elvis's team was firm, his way or nothing. His schedule was non-negotiable. Here's the sick irony. Elvis wanted to work with Linda precisely because of her perfectionism and artistry. But his deteriorating health meant he could no longer work the way she needed. She said no. The call ended awkwardly. Linda spent weeks second-guessing herself. On August 16, 1977, Elvis died at Graceland. He was 42. The guilt haunted Linda for decades. She turned down her only chance to sing with Elvis Presley because she couldn't surrender artistic control. She'd chosen her professional standards over a childhood dream, and that decision became permanent the moment his heart stopped. Some opportunities only knock once, and she'd let hers walk away. Story 10. The doll that sparked a revolution. In 1970, Linda Ronstadt showed up to an album cover photo shoot deliberately dressed to sabotage it. Her record label was furious. That act of rebellion made her a star. The previous year, Capitol Records had dressed Linda in a sexy, revealing dress for the cover of Silk Purse. She hated it, felt like she was being sold as a sex object. The label insisted. Sex appeal moved units. Male rock stars could look however they wanted. Female singers had to be glamorous, desirable, marketable. For the next album in 1970, the label wanted more of the same. Linda refused. On the day of the Los Angeles shoot, she arrived dressed like she'd just walked off a farm. Cut-off denim shorts, a simple cotton shirt, bare feet, minimal makeup, unstyled hair. The photographer was confused. The executives were enraged. They demanded she change into something more professional, more feminine. Linda wouldn't budge. The photographer shot the session with her casual outfit, certain the label would reject every frame. Here's the sick irony. The label's attempt to make her sexy had actually been holding her back. The album Linda Ronstadt was released in early 1971 with her simple, unglamorous photo on the cover. It became her first gold record, selling over 500,000 copies. Female fans particularly connected with her. Finally, a woman in rock who looked real, approachable, authentic. Linda's refusal to be a sex object had paradoxically made her more popular. Her anti-glamour rebellion became her signature, proving female artists didn't have to choose between credibility and success. Story 11. The Broadway Vocal Cord Crisis. In March 1981, doctors gave Linda Ronstadt an ultimatum that would force her to make an impossible choice between her voice and her integrity. Linda was performing 8 shows per week at New York's Minskoff Theater in The Pirates of Penzance. The operetta required difficult passages night after night with no vocal rest. The show was sold out through summer 1981. Thousands had bought tickets months in advance. Painful nodes were growing on her vocal cords. Each performance caused searing pain. Throat specialists in Manhattan delivered a devastating verdict in late March: cancel the remaining shows immediately and rest for 6 weeks, or risk permanent scarring that would end her singing career entirely. If she canceled, she'd disappoint thousands, breach her contract, damage her theatrical credibility forever. If she kept performing, she might destroy her voice permanently. She chose a third path: perform partial shows, allowing her understudy to handle the most difficult high notes while she sang what she safely could. What almost nobody knew, critics noticed immediately and destroyed her in print. The New York Times questioned her commitment. Other critics called them half performances, suggesting Linda was coasting on her rock fame. The attacks were brutal. She was trying to save her career while honoring her commitment, and the critics crucified her. She endured through late April, singing what she could, taking the public criticism while her vocal cords slowly healed. By June 1981, her voice had recovered enough for full shows. She completed the Broadway run. The vocal cord damage healed completely. Linda had threaded an impossible needle, protecting her voice while fulfilling her professional obligations, but the critics never acknowledged the impossible choice or apologized. She'd saved her career at the cost of her Broadway reputation. Story 12. The Grammy sweep nobody expected. In March 1975, Linda Ronstadt sat in the Grammys audience expecting nothing. What happened next would force the music industry to rewrite its definition of artistry. By 1975, Linda had massive commercial success, gold records, sold-out tours, top 40 hits. The music industry establishment dismissed her as a covers artist. She didn't write her own songs like Joni Mitchell or Carole King. She interpreted other people's material. The Grammys, which valued originality, had ignored her for years. Her 1974 album, Heart Like a Wheel, had gone multi-platinum. You're No Good topped the charts for weeks. The Recording Academy nominated her for Best Pop Vocal Performance Female. She didn't expect to win. The category included original singer-songwriters with serious artistic credibility. They announced her name. She'd won. She walked to the stage in Los Angeles genuinely shocked. The industry had finally reluctantly acknowledged that interpretation could be legitimate art. It felt like a fluke. Remember this moment in 1975? Because what happened next was unprecedented in Grammy history. The following year, 1976, she won the exact same award again for I Can't Help It, If I'm Still in Love with You, another cover. Industry insiders assumed it was a coincidence. In 1977, she won again for Hasten Down the Wind. Still covers! In 1978, she won a fourth consecutive time for Simple Dreams. 4 years in a row, same category, same artist, all interpretations, not a single original composition. No performer had ever dominated that Grammy category for 4 straight years, and nobody has since. Linda had forced the music establishment to completely redefine artistry itself. She'd proven that choosing the perfect song, finding the ideal arrangement, and delivering a flawless vocal performance was its own form of genius. The mere covers artist had changed how the industry understood interpretive singers forever. Linda Ronstadt's journey was a testament to independence, resilience, and artistic daring. She built a career on risk-taking, fought for her identity in an industry that tried to define her, and kept evolving even when the world doubted her. Though illness silenced her singing voice, it never diminished her legacy. Her life stands as a reminder that the bravest path is often the one you carve yourself.